injection. Drop the clutch, pedal to the floor. Turn that giddy button to a lion's roar. Dream machine, racing queen. I'll take you wherever you wanna go. Let's blow this town, break the speed of sound. Tonight, we own the road. Dream machine, racing queen. You make my heart beat. You make my heart beat. Dream machine, racing queen. You make my heart beat. You make my heart beat.
This is your AEW Dynamite review for Wednesday, April 12, 2023. I am the Solomonster. Tonight we had a first-time ever match in the main event between Chris Jericho and Keith Lee, and I did not realize this until tonight, but this was Keith Lee's first singles match on Dynamite, I believe, since his debut against Isaiah Cassidy back in, I guess it would have been February of last year. And this was his first singles match at all of any kind since a match with Serpentico on Rampage back in October. And before that, you'd have to go back all the way 1 year. I believe it was against one of the Gunn brothers a year ago. Point is, we don't get to see Keith Lee in singles action on this television show very often. We don't get to see Keith Lee a whole lot on Dynamite, period. So it was a nice treat to get him in the main event tonight against Chris Jericho, a match that we have not seen in the past. And I thought that they went out there and they had a match, not the best match on this card by any means. There were at least two matches better than this one. But we did get another tease at the very end with Adam Cole coming out when the match was over, when Chris Jericho got himself a tainted victory thanks to some outside interference by another man who we don't get to see very often on this show, that being Swerve Strickland, keeping the issue alive between these two men, costing Keith Lee the win in the main event against Chris Jericho. But Adam Cole comes out, does what Jericho did a few weeks ago, coming out to check on his friend, giving a little side eye to the other guy. Before it was Jericho giving a little side eye to Adam Cole without actually looking directly at him. Adam Cole did the same thing tonight to Chris Jericho to throw a little fuel on the fire between those two, clearly headed towards a showdown at Double or Nothing next month. We also tonight had the return of the Elite, Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks, after being beaten down over the last several weeks by the Blackpool Combat Club. The BCC got a little taste of revenge, a little taste of their own medicine tonight when the Bucks and Omega laid waste to them, chased them off into the crowd. There was no Hangman Page. There was no Bryan Danielson, but obviously these two groups are on a collision course towards Double or Nothing. And then likely after Double or Nothing is when they will save Blood and Guts. Tonight it was Kenny Omega trying to kill Jon Moxley with a screwdriver. Last week it was Bryan Danielson trying to gouge out Hangman's eye with a screwdriver. So that gives you a little taste of what we can expect in Blood and Guts whenever that match is going to take place. Probably not until after the next pay-per-view. But that was not the only return that we had on this show tonight. The other big return on the program, Jeff Hardy. We have not seen on television in almost 1 full year since the last DUI. Jeff Hardy was back tonight. He ran down to the ring to save his brother. Nobody looked happier to see Jeff Hardy back than Matt Hardy. It's not hard to figure out why when you look at what Matt Hardy has been relegated to since his brother went away. Oh, I would bet nobody is happier to see Jeff back on TV than Matt. Just in the nick of time. How I feel about this is a bit complicated. You know my thoughts on the whole Jeff Hardy situation. I don't believe he belongs in the ring. I don't. But I know there were a lot of people who were very happy to see him back. And obviously the people in Milwaukee tonight were very vocal when Jeff Hardy came down to the ring. And Jeff Hardy did not leave his brother to die this time while he, did some dancing in the aisleway too. He actually came right down to the ring. But Jeff Hardy is back, and that's one of the things we'll be talking about here tonight. But this episode tonight had a pair of really good matches, including the opener with Swerve, Strickland, and Darby, and then the international title match that we had with Orange Cassidy and Buddy Matthews. And also a lot of storyline advancement. I still thought overall it was a mixed bag. Mostly a good show, but still a mixed bag, and we'll talk about why that is. But as I said, this is your Dynamite review for April 12th, and I thank you for choosing me for your Dynamite coverage here tonight. Please hit that subscribe button because we are oh so close to 73,000 subscribers. In fact, we might hit that tonight. We might just break 73,000 tonight. You could be number 73K. So if you are not subbed to the channel, go ahead and do so. Make sure notifications are turned on. Hit that thumbs up. We hit 500 likes. That is the goal tonight. We will do Be the Booker a little bit later on here in this stream. Super chats are open. And of course, as always, you can become a channel member.
GWO.
And join our GWO, our little green world order. If you would like to become a channel member, channel members had early access to the latest installment of Sound Off Gamer, which is now up for everybody. It went public earlier this afternoon, so if you missed it, you can go ahead and check out the latest installment of Sound Off Gamer. It is there for you. All my frustrations. Speaking of frustrations, right on cue. JM with the $25 Bree Mode Super Chat. JM, you are impeccable when it comes to the timing. I don't know what else I don't know how else to respond to that. But before we get into all of the stuff that happened tonight here on Dynamite, as you could tell probably by the thumbnail of this video, we do have a little bit of news very briefly here to get into as it pertains to the former AEW World Champion CM Punk. We just can't seem to quit this guy, but we had a little bit of an update. Now, to be honest with you, we didn't really learn a whole lot new from this Fightful update that they posted earlier today. A couple of details, but I think we kind of already knew this. But the latest on CM Punk's potential return to the company. This is from Fightful, the latest update earlier today. CM Punk has laid out numerous scenarios in which he would return, or be willing to return, to AEW. And among those includes a willingness to work with Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks. There's a willingness on his part to work with the members of the Elite. However, we being Fightful, have heard that at least as of a few months ago, Omega and the Bucks did not seem too keen on that for obvious reasons. We're not sure if that has changed as AEW has progressed on landing new deals with them. Punk has also expressed his willingness to return to work for All Elite Wrestling and keep completely separate from the Elite. There were some talent that were of the belief that the rumored upcoming Saturday AEW show could be used to help facilitate that with some separation to the AEW roster. But that is not something that higher-ups in the company have confirmed to us. It was also noted that we're told Punk has been open to working elsewhere, although we're not sure if that means within the auspices of AEW, so for example, Ring of Honor, or if by that he is talking about WWE, for example, or New Japan. Of course, that would assume WWE even wants to work with him. But that is the update from Fightful. And, you know, it's very nice of him that he apparently would be willing to work with the Elite when he was the one who went out there publicly at the scrum and maligned them. But it's nice that he wants to work with them. You could obviously understand why they might not want to have anything to do with this guy. So he'll probably have to do the one thing I think that he probably doesn't want to do, which is apologize to them. If he wants to get them to work together with him, apologize for his little outburst. Hey, look at this, Drew Johnson.
Jerry Lawler loves Gunther.
Thank you, Drew.
Magnificent. All hail Gunther.
Drew Johnson, thank you very much for that $50 Gunther super chat drop. Drew, always good to see you on a Wednesday night, brother. Always good to see Drew. There is no indication, by the way, that that has happened yet. There is no indication that there has been any sort of apology to the roster or to the Elite or any of the people who apparently don't want him back in the company. That we have not learned yet. Now, Dax Harwood, good friends with CM Punk. He spoke on his latest podcast dropped earlier today And this is what he talked about when it came to CM Punk. He said, the reason I am fantasy booking the Elite against CM Punk and FTR, which is something that he has talked about being a potential main event for the Wembley Stadium show at All In. You could do CM FTR against the Elite. And a lot of people have been fantasy booking that match for a while now, probably ever since the Scrum, to be honest with you. But he said, it is because outside of Roman Reigns, and he says, please correct me if I am wrong, outside of Roman Reigns and maybe Cody Rhodes, the biggest name in professional wrestling right now is CM Punk. Definitely the biggest name in AEW. So if we want to take AEW to the next level, if we are here to work for AEW, if we are here to make pro wrestling better because of AEW, the way you do that is you take the biggest star that you have and one of the biggest stars in the world and you put them on the card and you make money with them. On top of that, I will say that I talk to Punk almost every day and Punk misses wrestling. Punk misses wrestling and Punk wants to come back. He wants to give back to the fans. He wants to give back to wrestling. And so I will leave it at that. Which, of course, I'm sure that Punk does miss it. He had a good thing going in AEW. And then he got hurt. And now he's been off television and out of the picture now for the better part of 6 months, right? 7 months at this point, whatever it's been. I'm sure he does miss it. But I said it last week when AEW broke the news about the Wembley Stadium show coming up on August 27th. And I said it right here on this review that never have I been more convinced that CM Punk is either back, we just don't know it yet, or is going to be coming back to AEW, because there is no way that Tony Khan is going to go ahead and book a Wembley Stadium show 1 week ahead of what we think is going to be the traditional All Out pay-per-view in Chicago. It still has not been confirmed whether or not All Out is still a go. Let's assume it is. You're going to do a stadium show in the UK, and a week later, you're going to possibly try to fill the United Center, the bigger building in Chicago, for All Out, which is to say nothing of Grand Slam in New York a few weeks after that. Tony Khan would not be doing this if it wasn't for the fact that he thought in his mind CM Punk is coming back. And he knew that he would have him back. He is a big name. He knew that he would have him back on the roster, whether he's working with the Elite or not. I am as convinced as ever, despite all the shit that's gone down back in September and the Instagram stuff and Moxley and called Jericho a stooge and all the bullshit, all the drama. After last week, I've never been more convinced that Punk is going to be coming back. It's only a matter of when. It's not a matter of if, and I think Dax feels the same way. I think he knows it. So now we wait and see what Tony Khan wants to do. And if so, when does he choose to put CM Punk back on television? Because I'm sure by now he's all healed up from his injury. It's just a matter of what does Tony Khan want to do? Does Tony Khan want to take that chance of upsetting the apple cart with people behind the scenes and potentially causing more drama by bringing this guy back? Because in a perfect world, yeah, he'd be back and they'd be making all kinds of money. But the world ain't perfect. There's no such thing. That is the update on CM Punk. Now let's talk about this Dynamite show, because Dynamite tonight opened with Darby Allin, who got hit by a car while skateboarding in New York City last week. And then he got hit by Brian Cage on Rampage last Friday. He got picked up and thrown like a sack of garbage on Rampage. Darby Allin one-on-one against Swerve Strickland. Very happy to see Swerve here on Dynamite. We see him a lot on Rampage. We don't get to see him a lot on this television show. I'm not sure what happened to Baby Brock. No Baby Brock. Or the other guy, the big tattooed up guy. But for those who don't know, and for those who don't watch Rampage, which I'm sure is quite a number of you, the Embassy is a Ring of Honor faction led by Prince Nana. Brian Cage is part of that faction. And I'm going to have news on him here in a second. But the Embassy has merged with Swerve's group, Mogul Affiliates. So they have merged into the Mogul Embassy. That is what we have been told. So Brian Cage and Prince Nana, they were out on stage here when Swerve Strickland made his entrance. For those of you who again, don't watch Rampage on Fridays, and we're watching and saying, well, wait a minute, why is Prince Nana and Brian Cage on stage for the entrance of Swerve Strickland? It's because they have merged, and they are now one. I fail to see, by the way, how merging with the Embassy, which is a Ring of Honor faction, really does Swerve any good. I don't really see how that benefits him, but that's what they've done. Now, Brian Cage has reportedly signed a new deal with AEW and Ring of Honor, a long-term deal. I've heard 5 years thrown around. I don't know if that figure is accurate, but supposedly it is a long-term, multi-year deal. And Brian Cage is going to be staying put. He's going to be staying right where he is. Now, there's been a lot of rumors about a potential hiring freeze when it comes to talent in WWE. I saw that debunked. I'm not sure that there is any kind of actual hiring freeze, but his contract was up, and he was working, I believe, without a deal, heading into Ring of Honor Supercard of Honor. The Embassy defended their six-man tag team titles, and they won. In fact, Brian Cage was the one who got the winning fall in that match at the pay-per-view. And so I saw that and said, well, I guess he's back. I guess he's not going anywhere, because why else would he get the winning fall and keep his championship if Tony Khan thought he was going to leave? And they did, in fact, reach a deal. And look, if WWE is going through all of these changes right now, right, the company is going to be going through quite a few changes in the months ahead. And Vince McMahon, to what extent is he back? And there's all this kind of uncertainty going on right now. Cage may have looked at that, and Tony Khan may have said, look, I want to keep you. I have plans for you to be on television. It's not going to be the way it was last time, where I rolled your contract over and nobody saw you for months at a time, which honestly is something that still puzzles me. It puzzled him too at the time. He did not think Tony Khan was going to roll over the option year in his contract. But he's actually appearing now on television, not just on Ring of Honor, but we've seen him make appearances on AEW TV as well. So as long as he's going to keep Cage on television and Cage is going to be visible, then it's not a bad spot for him to be in. Obviously, he felt the same way if he put pen to paper. He wasn't that disappointed. He wasn't that unhappy with his spot. I don't know what other promises Tony Khan may have made him, but it was good enough for him to sign a contract. So the Brian Cage sweepstakes is over. He will be in AEW for the long term. Darby hit an early suicide dive, and they fought outside the ring after that. Back inside, Swerve removed Allin's belt that he was wearing. He started whipping him with it. It cut to a split screen shot showing Sammy Guevara and Ty Mello watching from the back. In a different part of the match, they showed Jungle Boy in the back. In a different location, he was also watching. Because, again, they're building up all of these pillars as going after MJF's championship. They're all kind of scouting each other. Swerve kicked Allin through the ropes, and Darby was able to catch himself by his feet. And his feet caught the middle rope, and he was dangling by his feet. Swerve then propelled himself out over the top rope, and on the way down, he delivered a double stomp that took Darby down to the floor. And it took us into the first picture-in-picture of the evening. Back live, Darby had Swerve upside down in a tree of woe. The tables had been turned. He grabbed one of Swerve's feet. He pulled his boot off, and he bit down on his foot. He bit down right through the sock, which elicited chants of "you sick fuck" from the crowd here in Milwaukee, which reminds me of the independent show that I went to here in New York many years ago, which had a Matt Riddle-Tommy Dreamer match, where Tommy Dreamer may have had him in an ankle lock, as I recall. But the one thing that stands out is he took Riddle's foot and he put it in his mouth and he bit down on Riddle's foot. And Riddle wasn't wearing any socks. So he got the same chance that Swerve and Darby got here in this match when they started chanting "you sick fucking Darby." And Darby was really working over Swerve's ankle for a while. Eventually, though, Swerve had Darby on his shoulders on the apron. You knew nothing good was going to come from this. Darby fell backwards, hit a poison Rana on the floor, which looked ridiculously dangerous. Darby followed that with a coffin drop in the ring, had the match won, but Prince Nana had jogged down to the ring, and he placed Darby's foot on the bottom rope to break the fall before the count of 3. Darby went after Nana, but Brian Cage emerged from the back, stopped Darby in his tracks. Back in the ring, Swerve connected with the double stomp, Also landed, though, right on his injured ankle, so it took him a few extra seconds to cover, but when he did, Darby kicked out. So the match continues. Darby hits the ropes. About a minute later, Brian Cage now is at ringside. He trips up Darby, distracts him long enough for Swerve to attempt to use a chair. Darby, though, kicks it out of his hands and hits a code red, gets a close near fall out of it, but then immediately, out of that near fall from the code red, he is able to execute the Last Supper, and he got the 3 count for the win. That's the second time now that Darby has beaten Swerve with that hold. The last time would have been about a year ago, actually. I think it was a year ago this month in a qualifier for the Owen Hart tournament. And we should be hearing about that very soon because I assume they're doing the tournament at Double or... I know they're doing the tournament again. They said it's going to be an annual thing. Unless they're moving it to a different show, we have Double or Nothing coming up. So those qualifiers should be starting in the next probably 3 weeks or so. We're going to be hearing about the Owen Hart stuff. So that should be coming up. Really good opener, though. I thought this was a really good opener. This was probably my favorite match on the show tonight. I hate to see Swerve lose, but look, Darby is the one being primed for a championship match at the pay-per-view with MJF. Right? I assume it'll be a 4-way. He's going to be part of that match. You can't be beating Darby. Of these two, Darby Allin is the one that needs the win more than Swerve does. Now, after the match was over, we heard MJF's music play. Out comes the AEW World Champion. But first, a commercial. Then we come back from commercial. He was in the ring. He called Milwaukee Midwaukee. Told the crowd to give it up for Darby after an incredible match. And they did. He said it was especially impressive without his daddy Sting being out there. He said at Full Gear 2021, the two of them had one of the greatest matches in the history of professional wrestling. And I wouldn't go that far, but I do think that was one of the best matches I've seen in AEW history. Not the best, but it's up there. That was a great match that they opened that show with. And you kind of knew, even watching then, you knew watching those two, they were considered two of the pillars of the company. And back then, MJF was still getting a lot of flack for not being a good in-ring work, which I can never understand where that comes from. I mean, I know he doesn't wrestle very often, but he's fucking great in the ring. He backs it up in the ring just as much as he does on the microphone. He showed up that night, and I think he shut a lot of people up. That was a great match. Was it the greatest match, one of the greatest matches in the history of professional wrestling? No, of course not. In the history of this company? On pay-per-view? Yeah, I would say so. And he said that even though you are a shitty little emo schmuck, pound for pound, Darby may be one of the best people that he's ever been in the ring with. Which, coming from MJF, is actually quite the compliment. So, he brought up the fact that he beat Darby with a headlock takeover, and he is amused that he thinks he can take the Triple B from him. He said Darby is not on the level of the devil. Darby then had time to respond. He asked MJF if he's happy. Are you happy? He said, has anything you've ever done in your life made you happy? 6 years ago, I met you at an indie show in front of 30 people. And MJF told him, once I make it to national television, all of my problems will wash away. Darby said, here you are, nothing has changed. You're the champion, nothing has changed. Darby felt the same way. He chased all the same material things that MJF did, and they don't mean a damn thing. His first year in AEW, he checked himself into therapy. He told Max that he should check out therapy sometime. Hey, you know what? I've got a link for Max. If he ever wants to check out therapy, I'm just saying. I got a link. Darby said that with the money he made from AEW, he paid for his parents' house, and he helped his dad retire. And he said, no, Sting is not my dad. He's just my best friend in this entire company. He said he's not going to be like MJF. He's not going to lower his morals to be somebody in this world. So if you've got something to say, keep talking. And MJF called him an arrogant little boy. He's tired of him and Jack and Sammy whining about their morals. He said morals kill careers in this business. He thinks Darby is a gutless coward because he doesn't have the balls to sacrifice what must be sacrificed. He says, you think I'm an idiot, and I'm not aware that I might end up on my deathbed alone. That if the afterlife exists, that I'm not going to heaven, I'm going to hell. He says, I could give a shit. Because as long as this belt comes with me, that's all that matters. He says, that's the difference between me and you and the other pillars. I'm willing to do whatever it takes, not you. I am willing to do whatever it takes to leave a legacy in this sport, and it will read as follows: MJF, the greatest of all time. He said, you know what your legacy is going to be? Darby Allin, Sting's bitch. And then we're fighting words because we heard the music. And here comes Sting in his new jacket. He looks like a trucker walking to the ring in that jacket. I mean, I know it's got his logo on the back. I'm sure AEW must be selling it, so that's why he's wearing it. But it just looks like he walked in off the street. So he walks to the ring. And by the way, it was like 80 fucking degrees here in New York. What was it in Milwaukee today? Wearing a jacket like that. It ain't jacket weather no more. Not here in New York. Even now. Fucking 81 degrees outside. Sweating balls here. So Sting went face to face with Max. He said all this daddy daycare talk, he doesn't see himself as a daycare kind of guy. He sees himself more like a cheerleader. And he pulled out a pom-pom and threw it in MJF's face. And I was thinking, like, where the hell did he get this pom-pom from? He reached into the pockets of his jacket and pulled out 3 more of them and threw them at MJF. He was like a clown pulling out the never-ending handkerchief. I was like, where's he getting all these pom-poms from? So he promised to stop if MJF stops talking about this Cody daycare stuff. And he went, uh-oh. He said, I said Cody, and the truth hurts, doesn't it, Max? He goes, because you had a cheerleader. You had a support system in Cody, just like Darby does in me, and Surfer Sting had one years ago in Ric Flair. He turned to the camera and he shouted out Ric Flair and he thanked him. From there, he said he evolved. He went into the Crow Sting. And then after that, a little bit of Wolfpack. Then he gave a shout out to Big Kev and he looked up to pay tribute to Scott Hall. And he said, it's obvious that I've got a little Joker left in me. Shout out to Joker Sting. I know not. It's weird. Like, a lot of people hate on Joker Sting, but Joker Sting was I guess you'd call it a guilty pleasure of mine. I enjoy Joker Sting. He said, but what he does not have is a hunger and a thirst for that world title. He's going to be real with everybody. Showtime is almost over. But Showtime is just starting for this young man right here, Darby Allin. Actually, the way he wrestles, I would say the opposite. I would say Showtime is just about over for Darby Allin if he keeps wrestling the way that he does. He says, Max, mark my words, Darby will become AEW's World Heavyweight Champion. I promise you. Darby reiterated that point, said that he's ending MJF's reign of terror and leaving as AEW champion. MJF's response to all this was to hawk a loogie and spit in Darby's face and then bail out of the ring. I liked the Sting shout-outs. I liked the callback, especially the Joker Sting callback, which I just don't feel it gets enough love. But again, this is a man who is in the twilight of his career. He has said on record that this is going to be it for him. His contract, I think, might be up this year. And this is it. Now, we've heard this before. How many times did Sting in the past talk about how I thought I was done, and then Dixie Carter convinced me, one more year. But you just get to an age where, you know when it's time. He doesn't look it. He doesn't sound like it. He doesn't move around like it. But Sting is 63, 64, somewhere in that range. And it's not like he's wrestling full time. He probably could do another year if he wanted to. But I believe him when he says this is it. So every time we get a Sting appearance on television, whether it's a promo or a tag team match, I try to enjoy it because you just never know when the last one is going to come. God forbid, what if Sting goes out there in a 6-man tag in 2 weeks and gets injured? And it's a serious injury. Is he going to want to rehab and come back and start the clock all over again? Maybe not. Right? I thought we had seen the last of him when he got hurt against Seth Rollins. And then he had this career renaissance here in AEW. Tony Khan has done well by Sting. So I try to enjoy the appearances when we get them. And he still cuts a great promo. He's still one of the best promos, I think, in the entire company. What I did not like, there was one thing about this I did not like. It went on a little long. But beyond that, the one thing I did not like about this, they killed any potential for the idea that I talked about when it comes to if they were to come back to this later in the year, because they're going to do this match at Double or Nothing. It's probably going to be a multi-man match. When they get to a point where they could do Darby and MJF one-on-one, and MJF, of course, makes everybody jump through hoops, one of the trials could have been, because it's just such an asshole thing for him to do. It would have worked so well. To have MJF say, look, you want a shot at my championship, the last trial you need to go through is you got to beat Sting. If Sting beats you, then Sting will be the one to get a championship match. But if you beat Sting, Sting has to retire. And Darby gets to be the one to retire Sting. But what an asshole thing for MJF to do, right? What a conundrum it creates for Darby. Well, they've just removed all potential for this now because Sting went out and said, look, the one thing I don't have a hunger and a thirst for is that belt. I don't want to be world champion again. I don't care about the world title. So they killed the idea. I still think it would be a great idea. But they killed the idea dead here in this promo. I guess they could always, come back to it if they want to. But aside from that, I just thought it was a very strong promo by Darby. Darby has had the chance many times now over the last several weeks to really showcase his verbal skills and have some time in his promos. In the ring, live, not in a pre-tape in the back. And I think he's done very well. MJF, I thought, did very well. And on the whole, I enjoyed this. I thought this was a very strong opening segment here on this show. I'll tell you what wasn't a strong segment on this show. The TNT Championship. Powerhouse Hobbs defending his title in an open challenge against Silas Young from Ring of Honor, the last real man. We saw an insert of Hobbs pulling up to the arena in a car. This was earlier in the day. A car that QT Marshall apparently bought for him last week. And told the parking person, parking or security, whoever the guy was, to make sure that nothing happened to his car. Now, when you see a brand new car pulling up to the venue, especially if it is a gift from somebody, you know only something bad will happen. Only bad things can happen. You would think that these wrestlers would learn this by now. Remember
It's
when
the
Legacy?
amazing Gunther.
I remember when Legacy got a nice car for Randy Orton many years ago.
Magnificent. All hail Gunther.
What kind of car do you think Gunther drives around in, right? He doesn't drive. Gunther has somebody else do the driving for. He probably rides around in one of those Pope-mobile type things, right? Drew Johnson with another $50 super chat drop. The mighty Gunther. Drew, I'm going to start calling you the mighty Drew. You drop any more of those.
It's the amazing
Oh my God.
Gunther.
Well.
Loves
Speak
Gunther,
it.
the magnificent.
Speak it, and it shall happen.
All hail Gunther.
All hail the mighty Drew with his third $50 drop here of the stream. And I'm barely out of the opening match. The mighty Drew. I love it. Now, let me ask you a question. Why did Silas Young need to be in this spot? They were in his hometown, too. They're in Wisconsin. But Silas Young, I've always been a fan of Silas Young. I was talking about Silas Young back when I was, a brief period when I was reviewing the Ring of Honor Weekly show. But, now he's been showing up on the Ring of Honor relaunch here. Why did they need to use Silas Young? I guess it was a way to get him on the show in his hometown, but, he got squashed like a bug in 40 seconds here by Powerhouse Hobbs. If you blinked, you missed it. I can't believe they did him like that in his hometown, no less. So after the match, Hobbs and QT, they dragged Silas up the ramp until we saw Wardlow in the parking lot. Now, up on the screen, right? We cut to the parking lot. There's the car. And there's Wardlow. And he's pissed off. And Wardlow proceeds to start smashing in the windows. He keys the side of the car. It's weird. I can watch them bash out the windows and blow out the windshield and stuff, but it's the keying of the car that bothers me. You would think that smashing out all the windows would bother me the most, but no, it's the keying of the car that really kind of grinds my gears whenever I see that. So then he grabbed a nearby stanchion. He smashed the windshield with it. Then he looked over, and it just so happened that conveniently sitting off to the side was a forklift. So he moseys on over to the forklift. He gets inside. He drives the spikes right through the passenger side windows of the car, and he proceeds to tip the car over onto the roof. Now, in the arena, a very angry Powerhouse Hobbs is about to power bomb Silas Young off the ramp through 2 tables that, again, just so happened to be sitting there. Outside, right on the floor. So you got the ramp right 2 feet. It's not that far of a drop, but 2 feet down, these 2 tables just perfectly aligned, side by side, parallel to each other. But then Wardlow's music hits, and that distracts Hobbs. He's waiting for Wardlow to come out. Wardlow does come out. They start to brawl. Wrestlers and referees and agents, they come out to try to separate the 2 of them. Wardlow then ends up powerbombing poor Aaron Solo off the stage through what was supposed to be both tables. And Aaron Solo went through one of the tables and smacked the back of his head on the edge of the second table, which just looked brutal. It was a sickening spot. And that's what happened to Sting, actually. I was at Arthur Ashe last year for Grand Slam. I think it was the beginning of the Rampage taping. And there was something with Sting and Darby in the House of Black. That's where the great Muta actually made a cameo at the end to save Sting. They had Muta come out at Arthur Ashe, but they did a spot where Sting was up on the ropes, and it might have been Buddy Matthews, shoved him off, and they had tables outside, and Sting smacked the fucking top of his head, or the edge of his head, right on the edge of the table. Came up a little bloody. I was like, they fucking killed him. Why is Sting doing a spot like that? No wonder he wants to retire. But that's scary. You know, people have slipped and fallen and hit their head on the floor and end up dying, you know, for less than what we saw here. So hopefully he's fine, but that was a very ugly spot. Wardlow, by the way, when he was in the parking lot beating up the car in the arena, we could hear the arena audio. He was getting Goldberg chants from the live crowd as he was doing that. We've seen this angle in wrestling so many times before. It's so played out. You know, I don't know. It's just the same kind of paint by number shit with the car. And, oh, it was a gift for somebody, so let's smash the windows. And there's the forklift. You know, we've seen this many, many times before. And, you know, again, it's a car that Hobbs was given. He was gifted the car less than a week ago. Who cares? I guess he would care, but I don't. You know, does he really have any kind of emotional attachment to this car? I mean, I guess it was a nice car. I don't remember offhand what kind of car it was, but it looked nice enough. But, you know, I guess it's how the angle started. It started with a break-in to Wardlow's car, right? By QT and Aaron Solo broke into the car. They stole his belt. They stole his gear. They stole his passport. So I guess this was his auto revenge here on this crew here. All I know is this TNT Championship stuff, it's ice cold right now. It's ice cold right now. We had an international title defense on this show coming up, and I've said it before, I'll say it again, the international title held by Orange Cassidy feels like a bigger deal than the TNT Championship does, and it should not be. It should be the inverse of that. The TNT title should be the most revered championship outside of the AEW World Heavyweight Championship. And it doesn't feel that way at all. And it shouldn't be. It should be the flip side of that. It should be the opposite of that. Now, we got a video package with Switchblade Jay White 1 week after he made his official AEW debut. He's made appearances before in AEW, but this was his official full-time debut because he is all elite now. So we got a video this week with Switchblade Jay White and Juice Robinson saying that they were the best of the bunch, with Bullet Club calling themselves the Bang Bang Gang. Wait, I think I saw a video like that once. Yeah, you might want to reconsider that name. So they call themselves the Bang Bang Gang. Robinson asked Ricky Starks how the Blade Runner felt last week. Jay White said he's here to claim what's rightfully his. This is only the beginning. This is Bullet Club Gold. I, for one, cannot wait for Bullet Club Silver and Bullet Club Bronze. Boy, they're really beating this Bullet Club thing to death, aren't they? What year did Bullet Club start? What year did Bullet Club start? Was it 2011? It was something like that, right? Yeah, beating this. I thought the NWO was bad. How many versions of that did we get, right? NWO Wolfpack. We had the NWO 2000. I don't know if you want to count the LWO, which we now have that back. I don't know how many offshoots of that there were, but yeah, I don't know, it was 2013 or was it 2006? That's even worse. How long are they going to keep this thing going for? Well, now we have Bullet Club Gold, apparently. You know, HBO Max and Discovery Plus, they made the announcement today. Those two streaming services are being merged into one. It's going to be called Max, which, I mean, it seems like a missed opportunity to me. I don't know why they didn't just call it Discovery Max. That seems like a no-brainer for me, but they're calling it Max. May 23rd, they're rolling it out, which makes me wonder, by the way, if that could be where All In is going to air. They still haven't said that All In is a pay-per-view. It almost has to be. It's not going to be a television special, but have they not said anything because it might actually air on the streaming service? You know, when Adam Cole talked about the announcement last week, he said we're celebrating 100 years of the original Wembley Stadium and 100 years of Warner Brothers. Maybe it's going to air on Max. Maybe it's going to air on their new streaming service. But I bring this up because, you know, again, they're forming this new streaming service next month. I just want to know how much is this Bullet Club Gold subscription going to be? How much is it going to cost me to subscribe to that? That's what I want to know. Not a fan of having Jay White in a pre-tape video like this just kind of thrown in there 1 week after he made his big debut here on this show. If ever there was a week to get him out there with a live mic in front of the crowd to formally introduce himself and make their mission statement and announce this Bullet Club Gold stuff, this would have been it. You know, instead they put him in a pre-tape video that, again, was a quick hit and it was on to the next thing. I didn't think that was a very strong way to follow up his debut at all. Now, up next was Orange Cassidy defending the AEW International Championship against Buddy Matthews of the House of Black.
Jerry Lawler loves Gunther.
I don't think I've seen Gunther this many times on one stream in quite a while.
Gunther.
Boy, he's getting around tonight. He is getting around tonight. The mighty Drew Johnson. Another $50 Gunther super chat. Says HBK is Brett's daddy. HBK is the GOAT. I'm going to let that slide, Drew, because you're on fire tonight. So I don't want to rain on your parade. So there you go. Up next, like I said, Orange Cassidy, Buddy Matthews, International Championship. Cassidy went for an early crossbody block. Matthews caught him. Cassidy escaped, ended up hitting an orange punch. And Cassidy came up holding his fist, which was injured last week. It was already taped up. Doctor came in to check on his hand. Matthews ran over and stomped on it, heading into the picture-in-picture break. Cassidy countered a move by Matthews into a DDT, and Buddy rolled out to the ringside area. Cassidy then dove through the ropes, hit a DDT on the floor. Cassidy sent Matthews back inside the ring and then hit a leap from the ropes into another DDT. There were multiple DDTs in this match, all of which were kicked out of, which, not really a fan of that. Cassidy hit the orange punch for a near fall. Excalibur on commentary assumed that Cassidy's hand injury had prevented him from throwing the punch at full strength. That's why he didn't win with it. Cassidy threw another punch. Matthews, though, caught his fist and then blasted him with a knee to the face. Matthews put him down with a stomp for a near fall. Cassidy then hooked Matthews into the mousetrap pinning combination, and he got the win. Excalibur said that Cassidy only uses the mousetrap in emergency situations. It's funny, so does Johnny Knoxville. But he only uses the mousetrap in emergency situations. So they told the story here right from the beginning with Cassidy's injured hand. You know, how is he going to throw the orange punch? How is he going to continue? How can he possibly, you know, retain his championship here with only one good hand? He had to find another way to win. And that's what he did. The larger story, though, is that this man has been running himself ragged. For weeks and weeks and weeks, there has been no champion in this company who has defended his championship more vigorously than Orange Cassidy. We see him on television practically every week with a new international title defense. And, you know, we hear about this TNT Championship Open Challenge. It seems to me like the real Open Challenge is with Orange Cassidy for the international title. He's on TV almost every single week defending his championship. Isn't that the whole purpose? Like, that should be what the TNT title Open Challenge is all about. And as I said before, it just feels like this right here, this title has more cachet and more value right now than the TNT title does, because we do see it being defended more often. We are getting a variety of opponents here with Orange Cassidy on these shows. And he's over, whether you like the guy or not. I say it all the time because I still get emails from people. I got a Facebook message from somebody. Earlier today, I was corresponding with somebody who said, I don't get, you know, if Orange Cassidy was around in the 90s during the Attitude Era, he would, you know, he would never be popular, and he would have been jobbed out and this and that. And I said, well, the reason he's getting pushed is very simple. He's over. And I know that pisses people off who don't like him, but facts are facts. Facts don't care about your fucking feelings. The guy is over. That's it. That's why he's getting pushed. If he wasn't getting over, if he wasn't already over, Tony Khan would not give him as much airtime as he does. Or they would have evolved and adapted the gimmick into something else. But he is over to this audience. Just because you don't like him does not mean that he is not fulfilling a role on this show for Tony Khan. That is why he's the champion. That is why he gets as much airtime as he does. The people like him. This is not a hard concept. And I said also, by the way, if this was the late 90s, if you think that Orange Cassidy would not have gotten over during that period, you are sorely mistaken. Because as I pointed out in just one example, you had a fat Samoan on television every week putting glasses on, doing a dance, and he got over pretty well. There were plenty of silly gimmicks that got over. This one is just stupid and silly enough that I think even back then, it would have had a place on the show. We had Al Snow coming out on television with a fucking mannequin head. People saying head, head, head. What does everybody want? Head. Talking to a mannequin head every week. We had Perry Saturn coming out. Yes, I know Perry Saturn. Oh, he looks more like a pro wrestler, right? You know, he was a big, strong guy. You can't compare him to Orange Cassidy. The guy came out and talked to a fucking mop. A mop. There are just certain gimmicks and certain characters that are just silly enough that if played properly, they will get over. So I actually think he would have gotten over okay, even back then. And again, I know that pisses people off and it irritates them, but that's just the way it is. But I still get emails and messages about this. Why? Why is he pushed so hard? Why is he on television every week? It's a very simple question with a very simple answer. I don't know what's so hard to understand about it. People are still asking. But I would not have had Buddy Matthews be the one, because there were some people who said, I wish Buddy Matthews would have been the one to take the championship from Orange Cassidy. Because clearly that's what they're building to, right? He is running himself down so much that he's going to run out of steam. And he's going to lose the championship. Who's he going to lose it to? Buddy Matthews, if they're going to put it on somebody, Buddy Matthews was not the guy. I would rather it be Malachi Black. I'm not saying it's going to be him. I'm just saying, of the members of the House of Black, he's the one I would rather see have a singles title than any of the other two. So maybe it'll happen. I'm not expecting it to be him. We have Forbidden Door coming up. We have Double or Nothing coming up. I would think that they might save that title change for one of the two pay-per-views. But of these two, I would rather it be Malachi than Buddy Matthews. One of them is going to get a championship win over Orange Cassidy. So after the break, we had Renee. She was in the back. And she wanted an update on Cassidy's hand. He was standing there. He had an ice pack on it. Best Friends Challenge Aussie Open, fresh off their IWGP Tag Team title win over Bishamon at the Sakura Genesis show last weekend. They are the new IWGP Tag Team Champions. They challenged them to come on over, fly on over here to Milwaukee on Rampage this Friday. And it is official. We will get an IWGP Tag Team title match on Rampage this week. In the ring, we were supposed to have the Blackpool Combat Club. And instead, we had all ego Ethan Page standing in the middle of the ring with a microphone cutting a promo. He complained about Matt Hardy costing him his match last week with Hook and noted that Stokely Hathaway was still out injured. Page said that Hardy still works for him and demanded to know what he put in their contract. Matt Hardy and Isaiah Cassidy came out, and for those who don't know, because there have been some questions about Mark Quinn. What happened to Mark Quinn? He hasn't been around in a while. I believe he is hurt. I don't know the nature of the injury, but I believe it is an injury. So that is why we have not seen it. So here comes Matt Hardy and Isaiah Cassidy. Hardy said that he manipulated Ethan Page, as the contract said that if Hook beat Page, then Hardy and Private Party are no longer under the dominion of the firm. Now, keep that in mind. 10 seconds later, Matt Hardy, who obviously has been hit way too many times in the head with a chair, said that they also get to pick a match and a stipulation that if they win, they will no longer be in the firm. So in the span of 10 seconds, he contradicted himself. This dumb storyline needs to be over immediately. Thankfully, it looks like it is heading for the finish line. Page said the firm consists of more than just him and Stokely. And like a couple of morons, Hardy and Isaiah Cassidy begin to walk towards the ring, not realizing that coming up behind them are Lee Moriarty and Big Bill. Big Bill completely wiped out Isaiah Cassidy, by the way. They were almost to the ring, and Big Bill, who's a lot bigger than Isaiah Cassidy, nailed him from behind, and Cassidy just went boom, like face forward right into the ring apron, so he wiped him out. Hook made his entrance. He tried to help Hardy and Cassidy, but was quickly outnumbered. Holy shit, when we were talking about the end of the year awards, and talking about Rookie of the Year, and is it Hook, or is it Dominic, or is it Logan Paul? It was really between Hook and Logan Paul, right? Dominic was way down. Hey, Bullsy! Bullsy with the $30 Bully the Clown super chat. Yes, indeed, the circus is in town. I love the circus. I hate cotton candy, but I got my popcorn. I'm ready for the bearded lady and the fire hoop. Bully the Clown. Hey, Bullsy, thank you. But I was saying, everyone was talking about, is it Hook or is it Logan Paul? Who's the Rookie of the Year? Hook was kind of white hot there for a while. And now he's cooled off a little bit. And now I look at Dominic Mysterio, and I think Dominic has leapfrogged him by leaps and bounds. It's amazing how quickly things can change. So then Hardy's music plays, but Matt Hardy was already in the ring. And so you knew it wasn't him coming out. Who could it be? Why, it's Jeff Hardy. Jeff Hardy, who walked out his first appearance in nearly a year since the last DUI. At least this time, like I said earlier, he didn't stop to dance on the ramp before coming to the ring with a chair to help out his brother. He got a huge reaction. He worked over the heels with a chair. Jeff hit a twist of fate to Moriarty, and then went up and he hit a swanton bomb. And I know people popped for it because that's his thing. That's his big move. He hits the swanton bomb, which I think is the last thing he needs to be doing, as he has talked about how physically painful it is for him to even hit the move. That's why he scaled back so much doing it. But I guess he hasn't been in the ring. He's had almost a year, I guess you could say, to rest up his body. So he busted out a swanton bomb for all the fans. And Matt Hardy had a big smile on his face because, look, this is his brother, right? Of course, it's his brother. So he's very happy to see his brother seemingly healthy and happy and back. And yes, also storyline-wise, this is the greatest thing that could happen to Matt Hardy because it'll get him out of firm hell that he's been stuck in now for months and months and months. And now he and his brother can go on to tag team partner, again, and I'm sure they'll end up becoming AEW tag team champions. Then again, I assume that was going to happen last year. We all saw what happened. But assuming that he can stay out of trouble, I'm sure that's where this is headed. Because that's the one set of tag team belts I don't believe they've held them. I don't even remember anymore. I'm pretty sure they did not hold them in the time that Jeff was on the roster last year. But you had to know that's eventually where that was going to be headed. Am I surprised to see Jeff back on television? No, I'm not. His court case is over. For those who don't know, if you missed it, that was several weeks ago. His court case is over. Tony Khan said that if he gets help, he goes to rehab and gets help, that he would welcome Jeff back to the roster. So it really was not a matter of if, it was a matter of when. So I am not surprised to see Jeff Hardy back on AEW television. If it wasn't AEW, it would have been WWE. And if it wasn't WWE, it would have been some other company or some other promoter who would have welcomed him back. So again, not surprising. It's Jeff's choice ultimately to make whether or not he wants to come back. I don't think him being in the ring is a good idea. Again, it's his life. He's the one making the decisions. I'm just a fan on the outside looking in, watching this guy out there. I don't think him being in the ring is the best place for him to be. I think that's a mistake. But that's where he feels the most comfortable. I think that him being in the ring is the second worst place for him to be, second only to behind the wheel of a car. And per the punishment that he was dealt with this most recent case, his driver's license has been suspended for a total of 10 years. So technically, he is not going to be allowed behind the wheel of a car. As we've seen before with other people, that doesn't necessarily mean that. Even with Jeff, who's had his license revoked and suspended in the past, that did not stop him from getting behind the wheel of a car. So yes, he's technically not allowed to do that for 10 years. That doesn't mean anything. If somebody has a serious problem, that will not stop them from getting behind the wheel of a car. And that's what I mean when I talk about him being in the ring not being the best place for him to be. Because it's this vicious cycle where you take these bumps, especially as much as he has ravaged his body over the years. You take these bumps and you do these swantons, and you take these big bumps off the top of ladders and stuff, and you start getting yourself into trouble. And what do? Especially if you don't want to take pills. What do you do to medicate? What do you do to feel better? You drink. You do things you're not supposed to be doing. I don't want to see him go back down that road for a multitude of reasons, not only for himself, but for everybody else. That's my concern. And, fuck me, I guess, right? Oh, it's Jeff Hardy. He's back. This is great. Okay, cool. But let's look at the reality of the situation, right? I hope for Jeff's sake, he's got a clear head and a clear mind. And for his well-being and the well-being of everybody else on the road, I hope that is the case. And I hope to God it stays that way. But excuse me if I'm not as excited when I see this as everybody else is. But he had a smile on his face and he looked happy to be back. And hey, for his sake, I certainly hope that that is the case. But he's a very lucky man. He's a very lucky man that his punishment was what it was, because it could have been a hell of a lot worse. And you might even say that he got off a lot easier than some people expected. But the fans were happy to see him, so he'll always be over. No matter what, he'll always be over. That music hits, Jeff comes out, poses, right? Does the whole Jeff Hardy pose. He's going to be over no matter what, because he's Jeff Hardy. And people love him. And he always, of course, he was going to get the big comeback pop. You knew he was always going to get the big comeback pop. And so we'll see, I guess we'll see how long it takes for him and Matt to challenge for those tag team titles. FTR just won them back, so it's not going to be anytime soon. But FTR and the Hardys for the tag team titles, is that a marquee match for Tony Khan to book? Yeah, of course it is. Absolutely. Absolutely. But it's a match that I hold off on for a long time. You make them work for it, you make them earn it, and you make sure, frankly, that you can trust this person to not get into trouble again. I think there has to be a period of time that goes by where Jeff has to prove that he's in a good place and he can be trusted. And then you can book the match. Because that is a marquee match that Tony Khan can book. Now we had video, pre-recorded video of Kenny Omega seemingly from his home, where We talked about the attack by the Blackpool Combat Club, who took out the Young Bucks previously, and then they took out him. But the one thing that bothered him the most was taking out Don Callis. He said Callis is not the most likable guy in the world, and his room will not be filled with flowers or get well cards, but he is still family. And Omega said that it would not be blood for blood. It would be much worse the next time he sees the members of the Blackpool Combat Club.
It's the amazing Goonthar. Jerry Lawler loves Goonthar the Magnificent. All hail Goonthar.
Drew Johnson. The amazing Jeff Hardy. All hail the Solomonster. Thank you, Drew. Drew is the, boy, he's the king, isn't he? The king of the Super Chats tonight. You're going to run that thing ragged. The Jon Moxley and Claudio Castagnoli were out next to take on Brandon Cutler and Michael Nakazawa. I don't know, is this like a new age job squad here? Because it feels like it to me. I don't care about Brandon Cutler. I don't care about Michael Nakazawa, and therefore I didn't care about this match. Moxley and Claudio, they blindsided them. Moxley drove a chair into the neck of Cutler. Nakazawa was driven repeatedly headfirst into the apron by Claudio, and he got bloodied up. So, of course, we had blood here in this match. Rick Knox started the match as Nakazawa crawled into the ring. He started throwing forearms at Claudio, who steamrolled him with a clothesline. And a giant swing followed, I'm sure, as the blood sprayed all over the place on the giant swing. Claudio got the sharpshooter applied. He held on for far too long, waiting for Brandon Cutler to roll into the ring and try to break up this move. It is Michael Nakazawa. When you have Claudio Castagnoli, who happens to also be the reigning Ring of Honor World Heavyweight Champion, and he is applying the sharpshooter, which is a maneuver that he has used to win matches before, and you are Michael Nakazawa, and you are put in a sharpshooter by Claudio, you tap out. Instead, he laid there, and he held on, and he held on, and he held on. Stupid. So Cutler tried to go ahead and save his boy here. Nakazawa backdrop free from a pile driver. Cutler made a tag. Moxley started biting his face. He also got chants of "you sick fuck." King Kong Lariat connected, followed by the Death Rider. Moxley and Claudio beat down the Job Squad. Then until Rick Knox employed the Mercy Rule and he threw the match away, called for the bell, because these men could take no more. Moxley took the microphone after the match. And he said that the Elite and Don Callis had glass jaws. Kenny Omega's music hit, and out he walked on stage. He wasn't even supposed to be there. There he was. And with the Blackpool Combat Club's attention turned towards the stage, the Young Bucks ran in from behind. They delivered a pair of super kicks. Matt had a sleeve on his arm, the arm where he has the partially torn biceps that he is still doing therapy for. The Bucks laid out Moxley with the BTE trigger as Omega slid in a toolbox. And he was going to clock Moxley with it until Matt Jackson jumped in the way and said, wait. And he handed Omega a screwdriver. Remember last week, it was Bryan Danielson using a screwdriver on Hangman Page. So now they hand the screwdriver to Kenny Omega. Moxley spits in Matt Jackson's face. He dared Omega to do it. And Claudio pulled him free. And the Blackpool Combat Club retreated through the crowd. I believe the screwdriver ended up in the top turnbuckle, I believe. So the crowd was happy to see the Elite. I was very amused, though, that Kenny Omega was in the building this entire time, and he allowed his good friends, he allowed Michael Nakazawa and Brandon Cutler to go out there like lambs being led to slaughter. And then only when the match was over did he decide to come on out and make the save. He let those guys go out there and get their asses handed to them, have their asses handed to them on a platter, even though he was in the back the entire time. No Hangman Page, no Bryan Danielson on the show, but they didn't have to be. I didn't expect Hangman to be after what happened to him last time, but Danielson was missed. I missed not having him on the show. We had Toni Storm and Ruby Soho against RIHO and Skye Blue. Soho and Storm kept RIHO isolated during the commercial break before RIHO countered Destination Unknown into a roll-up for a 2 count. The match briefly broke down with RIHO hitting a double stomp on Soho. Ate a kick, though, from Toni. RIHO got sent outside by Toni Storm, who hit a German suplex, sweet cheek music, and finally the Storm Zero on Skye Blue to get the win for the Outcasts. Post-match, RIHO was beaten down by the Outcasts. They spray-painted an L on her before delivering a triple powerbomb and doing their best. The only thing they didn't do was put their fists out, like the Shield did. I mean, that's the only thing that was missing from this. They were doing their best Shield impersonation here. Jamie Hayter sprinted down to the ring. She got swarmed, though, only for Britt Baker to hit the ring. So they gave Britt Baker the big entrance here because Britt's been out. She's had a back injury. Ordinarily, that would bother me because, you know, I would do it the opposite way. Have Britt Baker come out, then have your champion come out. But again, they wanted to give Britt some shine because this was her big return. She hasn't been really all that physically active in recent weeks. And I know on the All Access show, she's talked about her back injury, and they've showed her getting injections, and apparently it is a legitimate injury. It's not gone away. It's affecting her back and her neck. And perhaps we should have Thunder Rosa commenting about what a phony injury it is that she has. But anyway, so she got into a slugfest with Saraya that did not look good. I will just say that. This did not look good. They were, just very weak-looking shots. If you're going to have a slugfest, if you're going to have, again, a back and forth, lay them in a little bit. I'm not saying knock her loopy, but make it look good. They did not make this look good. Britt went for a curb stomp. Saraya, though, got pulled to safety by Storm and Soho. It's the same segment. My biggest critique of this is the same segment every single week on repeat. It's the same shit every week with the ladies here in this program. It feels like the tires are stuck in the mud every week with this. The main event on this show was a first-time ever match. Chris Jericho, one-on-one with Keith Lee. Daniel Garcia was at ringside in Jericho's corner. Oh, it was Daniel Garcia at ringside. We would see a lot of him in this match. Jericho tried a shoulder tackle early on, and it resulted in Keith Lee no-selling it and kissing Jericho on the top of his head. Lee went to the ropes. Garcia, though, distracted the referee long enough for Jericho to connect with his springboard corner dropkick. Jericho controlled the action all throughout the final commercial break. Lion Salt connected. Lee launched Jericho off of him during the cover. Keith Lee got tripped up by Garcia long enough to distract him, as Lee and Jericho seemed to be on different pages briefly, and then they got it together. Jericho got pounced halfway across the ring. Lee took a long time to follow up, tried a moonsault. Jericho got the knees up, but Jericho, after that, got an eye rake and locked on the walls of Jericho, but Lee powered out of it. Keith Lee clocked Jericho with an overhand chop and a Beal, and he dumped Daniel Garcia over the top rope into the ring when he interfered again. One of many times he interfered here in this match. And he and Jericho ended up eating a double clothesline. Lee powered out of a code breaker attempt, countered into a spirit bomb. Garcia again took the referee. I had lost track at this point of how many times this happened. 18, 19. Legitimately, it was probably 3, but it felt like 18 or 19. So he takes Aubrey Edwards, and all of a sudden we see a masked man, clearly Swerve Strickland, come down to ringside, and he whacked Keith Lee in the head with some sort of foreign object. It looked like maybe it was the ring bell, but I couldn't tell. It happened so quickly. But he hit him in the head with something. Jericho then slowly crawled over, draped an arm over Keith Lee, and got the pinfall win. After the match, Adam Cole's music hits. He walks down to the ring, and he checks on Keith Lee at ringside. They're outside the ring, kind of kneeling down. Cole, not looking in the ring, not looking at Jericho, just talking to Keith Lee, making sure he's okay. And this is exactly the same thing that Jericho did for Daniel Garcia a few weeks ago when he wrestled Adam Cole in Cole's comeback match on Dynamite. Cole, never turned around to look at Jericho. He just kind of gave him the side eye, and then he kept walking up the ramp. And this made Jericho furious. He had a big pissed off scowl on his face because here's this man disrespecting him and stealing his thunder here at the end of this show. And that is how Dynamite went off the air. You know, there was somebody in the chat a little bit earlier on, it was before I went live, who was using the false argument that, you know, a lot of people and a lot of podcasters were crying about the fact that Adam Cole was possibly going to be paired up with Keith Lee back in WWE. And here they are, you know, they're kind of, not that they're partnered up, but, you know, here they are paired up in a way here in AEW, and everybody's okay with it, as if that is a legitimate argument. Why do people do that? Why do people do that? Why do people mislead like that? The issue had nothing to do with Adam Cole and Keith Lee being paired up as like partners. The issue was that there was an idea pitched to have Adam Cole be a manager on the main roster for Keith Lee. So think of LA Knight as a male modeling agent, right? Representing Marseille and Mansois. That was the idea. That was the pitch, to have Adam Cole as a manager for Keith Lee, not as a friend, not as an associate, not as a tag team partner, not as an equal. It is not the same thing. Don't be stupid. Don't do that. Don't do that. As far as this show is concerned, I didn't like this main event as much as the opener. I didn't like it as much as the Buddy Matthews match with Orange Cassidy. It was good. The constant interference, though, took it down several notches for me. I was happy to see Keith Lee in the main event for a change. Him and Swerve Strickland being on the Wednesday show instead of the Friday show was a nice change. That was a positive change. On the whole, I thought it was a good show. It was nothing that set the world on fire. It was a mixed bag. There was good, there was bad. Or at least good and less good, I guess you would say. Nothing egregiously bad. But, you know, again, the TNT title stuff right now does nothing for me. I was not a fan of the angle they did tonight. I think it was a mistake to not have Jay White with a live mic in his hand the week after he made his debut. Put him in the ring instead of doing a quick pre-tape video with him and Juice Robinson. I didn't like that. But they did forward several storylines as well. They forwarded the storyline with Chris Jericho and Adam Cole. They forwarded the feud, which they're now starting to get back to, with Keith Lee and Swerve Strickland. Even in the Orange Cassidy match with his injury and the injured hand, they were telling a story even in the Orange Cassidy match. The Darby stuff with MJF, I thought that was great. Again, not a fan of the Wardlow and Hobbs stuff, but even that story, they moved that ahead. And now those two are going to have a TNT Championship match on Dynamite next Wednesday. So, Rampage lineup for Friday has Jungle Boy against Shawn Spears. Aussie Open defend the IWGP Tag Team titles against Best Friends. We're going to hear from the new champions, FTR. Taya Valkyrie takes on Emi Sakura. Mark Briscoe, Jeff Jarrett, Jay Lethal, and Satnam Singh will all be in action. And on Dynamite next Wednesday, the women's champion, Jamie Hayter, teams up with Britt Baker against Toni Storm and Ruby Soho. Powerhouse Hobbs defends the TNT title against Wardlow. And I'm being told we are only 15 likes away. Before we even get to your super chats, we're only 15 likes away from the goal. So go ahead and hit that thumbs up. Awesome. Here's a Twitter poll. 58.7% of you have given the show tonight a thumbs up. 24.3% thumbs in the middle. And 17% gave this Dynamite a thumbs down. And Bash, I missed the Christian and Dinosaur segment because it wasn't much of a segment. It was really no different than last week. There was nothing to talk about. Christian was on the show in a red lit room with the dinosaur. He made a comment and they went to commercial. There you go. See, now you're all caught up. But yes, 58.7% thumbs up. So we're under 60% thumbs up for this show. Go ahead and vote at Solomonster on Twitter. That was really it. With the dinosaur and Christian. Like I said, not much to really speak of. When they actually say something interesting and worthwhile, I will be sure to bring it to you here on these reviews. He said things have changed. Okay, yeah, that's what he said. Things have changed. He didn't elaborate on that. He just said things have changed. I don't know. We saw Christian and Luchasaurus previously. That really hasn't changed. He didn't tell us what's changed. Groovy Goose. Thank you for the 99 cents. Oz and Glorious says they are overdoing this Pillars thing. The fact that Darby took the first 35 minutes of Dynamite and new signing Jay White got 45 seconds is absurd. I agree that they should have given Jay White more than that. I don't have an issue with what they did with Darby because, again, they're building to a world championship match in their main event for Double or Nothing. And okay, maybe you are tired of them overplaying the idea of the Pillars because they keep saying that word. But that's what they are. These are the young names that they built this company around from day one that did not come from WWE. They did not come from somewhere else of note. They really made a name on a national stage here in this company. And now I think it's cool that here we are now heading into a pay-per-view where this main event, likely a four-way, is going to be contested among four guys who all built up their profile and built up their name primarily in this company. That is a positive thing. That is something to be celebrated. Dan Teller. What are your thoughts on Jeff Hardy making an appearance tonight? Already talked about Jeff Hardy earlier in the review. Dan, thank you. Vanilla Gorilla with the $20. So it's my birthday and AEW gave me the return of my favorite wrestler of all time, Jeff Hardy. But this return is obviously tarnished, and I don't know how to feel. I want to enjoy, but he lost the right to ask for more chances. Well, look, if you're a Jeff Hardy fan, be happy that Jeff Hardy is back. Enjoy it. If you're a fan of his, then you should be happy that he's back. I don't think the ring is the place for him to be. That's how I feel. Big Armada 1988. Is it me or are the JAS, BCC, and the Outcast just three variations of the same stable who hates anybody who is not like them? Isn't that all heel factions though? I think you could say that to some extent about all heel factions. Thomas with the $10 super chat. When it comes to Jeff Hardy, I hate to say this, but I was not as excited as I was last year in his debut. In my mind, I think to myself, how long will he stay clean? Too many disappointments. Do you agree? Yeah. I mean, that thought is always there. The thought is always there. Okay, he's back, but for how long? You know, at some point, you get to a point where you have all these chances, you have all these opportunities, and it becomes pretty clear that the biggest enabler of all is this. It's wrestling, it's the ring, it's the bumps, it's the lifestyle. It just is not conducive to a healthy, positive lifestyle for certain people. And it just seems to me that Jeff Hardy is one of those people. And now here he is thrust back into it. I get that he's a big star, and I get that it's hard. You know, Tony Khan probably made certain promises to him and also wants to be able to do a Hardy Boys reunion, and he, you know, the promoter in him. I get it. But again, I just don't think that that's the best place for him to be. I hope he knows what he's doing. Fire Panda, so Jeff Hardy is back in AEW. Makes me wonder when Sunny will make her debut in AEW. I know you would just love that, Solomonster. Oh yeah, I would love that. You know, Tammy Sitch and Chris Candido are getting their own Dark Side of the Ring episode in season 4. The new season starts next month, and they're gonna have an episode devoted entirely to that. You could do a whole season on Tammy alone, but they're gonna have a new episode in the new season. M-Sund, I love the little nod to Bret Hart when Claudio was bouncing Nakazawa's head off the mat over and over, and he slapped it like 50 times in a row. JM, Bree Machine, Racing Queen. Oh no, you've stained a Dream Machine now for life. A Gorilla, hope the Hardys can have their big retirement match before Jeff falls off the wagon again. Rodimus Prime with the $10 with the $10 super chaz, the fucking helicopter over my house. They found me. Rodimus, Jeff Hardy is back, and I hope he keeps it together this time. That being said, I think this should be the last straw for him no matter what. I mean, we've heard this before. Drew Johnson with the $50, the first of many. I think we've exhausted all of them at this point, but the first of many. Bring CM Punk back, he says. Solomonster, you are the man. Thank you, Drew. Fawzan Rizky Ramsey. Yes, my favorite Jeff Hardy finisher, the Stunner of Fate. It did kind of look like that, I guess. Cletus Smith IV, Tony Khan should humble Punk by having him get squashed by Moxley and the Elite in Chicago. Teach him a lesson in humility. What do you think? I mean, I don't... Look, if you're going to bring CM Punk back, you're bringing him back because you feel like he is an attraction and because he is somebody who is going to help you make money, pay-per-views, and bringing him back and immediately jobbing him out. I mean, if it's one match, whoever he wrestles in his first match, I mean, yes, he might lose, but if the idea is to bring him back and humble him by just jobbing him out, then why even bring him back in the first place? Brandon McNeil with the 1999. Sometimes the algorithm knocks it out of the park. I was exposed to the channel during the SummerSlam, Flair's last match weekend, and I've been a fan ever since. You are truly appreciated. Thank you for everything, Solomonster. Well, Brandon, thank you, man. I appreciate that. I remember that too. That was a busy end of July last year. We had the Flair pay-per-view. I did a whole review for that. That was something. That was something. But I'm glad that you found the channel. Down Bad with the $50 super chat. How about that? Down Bad giving Drew Johnson a little run for his money here. $49.99. What's up, Solomonster? I think CM Punk will come back, but it would only be a matter of time before he has another episode. I don't think he would get along with the Elite for very long. Yeah, look, I mean, I've talked about the Punk stuff so much. You bring him back, you do so at your own risk, because it's only a matter of time before something else happens, especially if he's around people that he has been very publicly vocal about, who are in pretty prominent positions in that company, and something will set him off. And again, that's the risk reward that Tony Khan has to weigh about bringing back CM Punk. But I think it's only a matter of time. I think he's absolutely going to be coming back. Brett Brode with the $9.99. Hey, Brett. Thank you, sir. Haven't heard from Brett in a while. What's going on, Brett? Zachariah Sitchin. It's actually pronounced Milwaukee. It's Algonquin for the good land. Well, thank you for that, but everybody pronounces it Milwaukee. So apparently everybody is wrong. Groovy Goose, can you do a kip up? Thanks for the stream. I used to be able to do a kip up, yeah. I haven't tried one in years. So I don't know. I can't say for sure if I could still do one, but I used to do them in gym class all the time. Pharaoh's perspective on wrestling. I'm going to miss Sting when he is done. So am I. Sting's awesome. Drew Johnson, again, HBK is the GOAT. Sting is awesome. As I just said, Sting is awesome. Drew, thank you. The Rock versus Sting. Awesome stream as always. I saw your latest gameplay on 2K23 and I got to say you sold that Omos finisher like a Pro. Yeah, he tree slammed the shit out of me. Screwed me over, did Omos. Nick Grasso with the 1999. What are your thoughts about Dark Side of the Ring doing episodes on Jannetty, Magnum TA, and Tammy Sytch and Chris Candido? I think Shawn Michaels will be on the Jannetty episode. And do we get Tammy live from prison? Shawn Michaels will not be there. He will not be on the show. Because he works for WWE. So he will not be on there. I'm sure he will not be on. And yeah, I mean, look, that's not even the entire lineup. I'll have the entire lineup and talk about it on Sunday. But yeah, I just mentioned the Tammy Sytch and Chris Candido one. Hey DJ Sonic, thank you for the. You know, I should check. We were closing in on 73,000. DJ Sonic may have been number 73,000. I'm not sure where we're at, but we might break 73K tonight if we have not already done so. But Nick, the Magnum TA one is maybe the one I'm looking forward to. One of the ones I'm looking forward to the most. Yeah, it's a sad story what happened with him in the accident, and it's one of those what if things. He didn't get hurt. I don't think it's a matter of would he have been the NWA champion. I think it's more a matter of how many times would he have been the NWA champion, and would he have eventually gone on to WWE. So that's one of the ones I'm looking forward to the most. The Marty Jannetty one scares me because Jannetty is, yeah, especially you see some of his Facebook posts that I hear about from time to time today. I don't know. I'm a little afraid of what we might hear about on that episode. Oz Inglorious, the security guy / car valet, Charlie, is AEW's prop master. Well, that's cool. Is Jamie Hayter's boyfriend or fiance? That's a very lucky prop master if that's the case. Why couldn't Cody take QT and the Nightmare People with him? You want QT and the Nightmare Factory on WWE television? You think that QT and the Nightmare crew could back up Cody against the Bloodline? Oh, Oz. What are we drinking, Oz? What are you on tonight? Whoa, how many have you thrown back tonight, Oz? Come on. Don't even suggest such a thing. Brian H. the Green Boy with the $10. Adam Cole for AEW World Heavyweight Champion. Jack Perry for TNT Champion. Adam Cole and Jack Perry for Tag Team Champions. Adam Cole for President of the U.S. Jack Perry for VP of the U.S. I get the impression that you're a big Adam Cole fan. I can't quite put my finger on it, but that's just the sense that I get. Naughty Delicious Chicken with Flavor. If CM Punk really wants to come back to AEW, keep him away from the AEW World title picture. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. CM Punk does not need to be the AEW World Champion. Yes, I agree. Keep him as far away from the title as possible. He does not need it. Supposedly, he didn't even want it in the first place, but he understood why Tony Khan wanted to put it on him. I agree with Punk in that case. He don't need it. He can be an attraction for them. He does not need to be the AEW World Champion. Won the title twice. Both times got hurt. First time was a freak, fluky thing, but still, he dove into the crowd, he broke his foot. Second time, he tore his tricep. You don't put the world title on him. We don't want to go through that again. No more interim world champions. Keep him away from the world title. He can challenge for it. He doesn't have to win it. Drew Johnson, thank you again for that 50 drop. HBK is the GOAT, he says. Dr. Scorpio. Now we have Bullet Club Purple, thanks to Finn. Bullet Club Purple. Lady Fire Panda, can we get a He's Fat super chat? I don't know, maybe. It's possible. I'll have to think about it. M-Sun, Drew's mom gonna be pissed when the credit when the credit card bill comes in. Drew's mom is gonna be pissed. You hearing this, Drew? Are you hearing this, Drew? M-Sun is throwing some shade your way. Naughty Delicious Chicken with Flavor. Gunther more over than Vince McMahon's mustache. Arabian Night 2000. What was more underrated in WWE? Punk and Jeff Hardy in 2009 or Rollins and Ambrose in 2014? Both had heat and good matches. I would say Punk and Jeff Hardy in 2009. That was the better of the two. But I guess I'm not allowed to say that because apparently when you say something negative about CM Punk, you're a CM Punk hater. So I guess I really shouldn't be exposing myself there by praising a CM Punk feud from his WWE run because that would kill the narrative. But yes, that was the better of the two feuds. Jeff Hardy and CM Punk, the matches they had, the feud they had there in 09 was very good. Todd Warner, did you see that Bronson Reed said he wrestled with the flu on Monday? I know you said he seemed gassed. I did see that. As soon as Raw went off the air, I saw the item mentioning that he apparently worked his match with Bobby Lashley on Monday with the flu. He had the flu for days before that, and so now it makes sense. Because I said, like, he was gassed in a way that we have not seen in any of the other matches that he has been in. It was just very weird. And so when I read that, it made all the sense in the world that he was sick. So he'll get better. He and Bobby will get back in the ring, 100%, and then we'll get to see what those two can do. The AEW water carrying shill. Yes, that's me. That's me. I know. I got to carry the water for both companies. I know. We have got Pharaoh's perspective on wrestling. I'd buy Bullet Club Gold before Global Force Gold. You and me both. Food High. The 1999. I've been absent from the streams of late because I've gone through the most difficult time as an adult this year. Although I've been absent from the chat, I always listen, and you all really make my day. Thank you all. Much love. Food Hive, I don't know what it is that you're going through, but I hope everything is hopefully working out for the better. Hopefully things are improving. And you always have family here in this chat. You know that. So I love you, brother. EJ Slamp, have you ever gone back and watched Kurt Angle's Olympic gold medal match? And has your love of pro wrestling ever made you interested in amateur wrestling? I have seen Kurt's win in the Olympics on YouTube a few times, and no. My love of pro wrestling has not made me interested in amateur wrestling at all. I have respect for amateur wrestling. I don't hate it. It's just not something that interests me. Anderson Blitz, if CM Punk returns, Uncle Dave must apologize. It's ballsy with the $30. I like Orange Cassidy. No reason to dislike the guy. Plus, if he got a little more ripped and just a little more serious, he'd be me. No, he might be AEW champion material. Maybe he already is. Who knows? Oh, Bullsy. Bullsy. That's going to get you heat, Bullsy. There are people who hate the man's guts. That's going to get you heat, but Bullsy, you're okay with me. Naughty delicious chicken with flavor. I honestly don't hate Orange Cassidy at all. I just don't overexpose the guy. Or just don't overexpose the guy. Orange Cassidy is already over. Give him some vacation time. Champions need breaks. Of course, ask Roman Reigns. Drew, $50 super chat. Talking about the amazing Jeff Hardy. You read that one earlier. Luis, our boy Luis, who was at WrestleMania this year. His, I believe, very first WrestleMania. He was at SoFi Stadium. Watching the television version of WrestleMania 39, it pisses me off that Brock Lesnar against Omos was filled with what else? Earthquake references. Stop reminding California's population that we live in earthquake country. Hashtag fire Vince. There you go. I'm sure WWE will take that to heart. John Tenta would disagree, though. I mean, we had a wrestler named Earthquake, right? So we had Earthquake, we had Typhoon. Ed Swoggle, we had Hurricane. Ed Swoggle, I can't go for that against Kiss on my list. I can't go for that. Easily the better of the two. HBKC83, I hate seeing Brandon Cutler on my screen. I get teased at work because he has my last name. He's not doing the Cutler name any justice. It's like the movie Office Space with Michael Bolton. Naughty Delicious Chicken with Flavor. I double dog dare Tony Khan to book Jade Cargill against Britt Baker versus Saraya versus Riho in a ladder match. Does AEW have the balls to do it? I certainly hope not. I don't know, that just seems like a disaster waiting to happen. You start getting ladders involved with people who aren't used to being in ladder matches, and it's not gonna end well. Devin from NJ. He is a friend. He is. It's not like the movie Best Friends. Will. What was the other guy's name? Oh God. John. Oh God. Was it John? John Riley? Something C. Riley? What is that guy's name? Now, of course, I consider him a friend. Absolutely. Trill Mexican 305. My birthday is on April 19th. I hope Powerhouse Hobbs retains the TNT Championship for my 35th birthday. Love the review tonight, Solomonster. Thanks. Well, Trill, happy early birthday. Coming up on April 19th. You did not tell me... Oh, you did tell me how much. I was like, you didn't tell me how old you are. And it says right there, it's 35th birthday. Well, I hope you have a very enjoyable 35th birthday. As long as it does not fall on a Monday during Raw, then I'm sure it will be a happy day. John C. Riley, thank you. So I was right. It was John Riley. John C. Riley. I knew it was Will Smith. I just couldn't remember the other. I knew it was C. Riley. I just couldn't remember the first name, and then it hit me. Groovy Goose, besides MJF, because he is the champion, in what order would you put the AEW title on the other three pillars of AEW, in your opinion, if you had it your way? Like Burger King, huh? I mean, to me, Darby is the guy who would get the belt first after MJF. And then it would be Jungle Boy, and then it would be Sammy. I just think, with a little more seasoning, Jungle Boy could be very over and getting a short run with the world title. It wouldn't be a long run, but I think, could it work putting the championship on him and telling that story with him winning the big one and working his way up the ladder to get there? Would he be over, and would the fans be willing to accept him in that role? Yeah, I do. I think so. So I would go Darby, and then Jungle Boy, and then Sammy in that order after MJF. We got Brandon Fujiwara with the $10 super chat. Missed SmackDown for the birth of my son. Missed Raw because he was still getting care. Your streams were a nice escape from my worries. On behalf of myself and my son, Nikki the Dragon, thank you. I like that name. That's a great name. Well, congratulations, Brandon. I'm very happy for you. I'm glad that everything seems to be okay. And I'm glad the show could be an escape for you. Nikki the Dragon. I like that. Bender McSimpson. I like that too. Great opening and closing matches with a great international title match. AEW does not need Punk. He'll cause more headaches than he is worth. Link Lex, international title is better than the TNT title. Right now, yes it is. Devin from NJ, I know you've said the Shield couldn't be made today, but do you feel the same way about the Sopranos? No, the Sopranos, no, see, part of it is that the Shield was on basic cable. The Sopranos was on pay cable, premium. So the Sopranos could be made today. I mean, there wouldn't be any, there's always going to be issues and people who, bitch about something. But no, I don't feel the same way about them. And that's part of it, because one was on basic cable and the other was on HBO. Groovy Goose, Punk was wearing Danhausen's boots for the All Out match and subsequent Brawl Out conference. The whole situation was literally cursed. I know Danhausen said that Punk is maybe the only person who checks in on him on a daily basis as he is recovering from his torn pec. I think it's a torn pec that Danhausen has, that he suffered at Revolution. Joseph Brooks, do you think that as great as it's been that WWE's mid-card titles are now getting prestige once again, do you think that they still don't really treat the US titles prestige as well as the Intercontinental? For a long time, I would have argued just the opposite. And to be honest with you, I understand that the US title has more history going back years and years and years and decades. I'm very happy that it would always bother me that they did that and that the Intercontinental did not get the attention, I think, and the respect that it deserved, because that's their title. And you would think that they would want to highlight that title over the US title. And for a long time there, it felt just the opposite. Like the US title was the main secondary belt getting all the focus. So I'm kind of happy that the Intercontinental Championship, this run that Gunther has been on, has been getting the kind of accolades that it deserves. Is it more important? Does it feel more important right now than the US title does? Yes, it does. And Gunther has a lot to do with that. He's been on a great run. If you just plug anybody in that spot, it might not work as well. But with him, he's a big part of why that championship feels so special right now. Yeah, Bliss fan, I'm counting the WCW one with the US one. So again, it's got a history that goes back long time. I'm pretty sure longer than the Intercontinental. But I do count that. I lump the two kind of title lineages together. I know not everybody does. Oz and Glorious, never key another man's car. Solomonster and Vincent Vega. That's right. Never key another man's car. Words to live by. Daddy Ball, enjoyed the stream. Good night, Sal O the Monster. Yes, as I am billed in 2K23, because again, it is stupid how in the game you cannot select the word just monster. It has to be the monster. So I am Sal O the Monster. So stupid. Trill Mexican 305. I am the former GCC 305, by the way. Thank God my 35th birthday lands on a Wednesday this year. Now I'll be at work, but for sure I'll be listening to next week's live stream to pass the time. Well, you better. You better. That'll be your birthday gift to yourself. AJ Lupo, always enjoying the streams. I look forward to Hog on Friday, as well as the return of Muffin Man Punk at All In. Let the chaos begin. Right, House of Glory is coming up on Friday night. And very likely there will be no SmackDown stream on Friday. I'm not 100% sure right now because it does not appear we are streaming this one on Fight, which I don't quite understand, but I don't make those decisions. So I'm not sure what's going on. Most likely, though, I will be there and not here. So if there is no stream, now you know why. Naughty Delicious Chicken with Flavor. I found a tag team name for Vince McMahon and Kevin Dunn. Brains and Damages. I could think of worse names for Kevin Dunn. Controversially Anonymous in the chat says, put the strap on Punk. Why do you want Punk to wear a strap? It's kind of fucked. Says it right there in all caps, though. Put the strap on Punk. Apparently he wants the strap on CM Punk. It's Bullsy. Hey, if people mad over Orange Cassidy, hope about this. Cassidy should hold the AEW title for a long time and be a dominant champion. Juan Ocampo with the $4.99. My former roommate and friend just crashed into another car on Tuesday. His blood alcohol content was a measly 0.274, 3 times the legal limit. now has a slew of charges and a $500,000 bond set. Guy he hit has a broken back and is in critical condition. I am sad and angry. Do not drink and drive, for fuck's sake. Yes, please don't do that. Do not drink and drive. Arabian Night 2000. Who in AEW do you think would do better in WWE? Wardlow? I think Wardlow would do better in WWE. I do. Because he's also very well spoken. He can cut a promo, he can talk, and that's important in WWE. And in the ring too. I mean, he does some very impressive things for a guy who's, on the bigger side. He's not a giant, but I do think in WWE he would be exposed a little bit in terms of his size, because he would be in the ring with some of these guys. I mean, you put him in the ring with the Drew McIntyre, and they're I'm guessing McIntyre would dwarf him a little bit. I don't know offhand how tall Wardlow is, but I do think he stands out more because there aren't as many bigger guys. I mean, they have big guys, but there aren't as many of them, I don't think, on the AEW roster. But I do think he would do better in WWE. I do. I have not been impressed by what they've done with him since May of last year. As far as who else I think would do better in WWE, I mean, I think a lot of it boils down to, not even a case where, in some cases, it's not a case where Tony Khan is necessarily even booking them badly. It's just that he may not be booking certain people enough. He may not be giving them enough face time. So if they get more time in WWE, I think a guy like a Ricky Starks would do very well. I'm hoping Jay White does not fall into that trap. I thought he would do well in WWE. That's why I wanted to see him go there until recent developments. And then I realized, well, now is probably not a good time for him to go to WWE. But I think he would have done well there. Under Triple H, without any sort of meddling, I think he would have done well. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say because I just don't know what is going to be in terms of WWE creative and how much influence Vince is going to exert creatively in these next several months. It really is a crapshoot right now. And it's hard for me to sit here and say so-and-so would do better there when, you have him sniffing around and just there's a big question mark when it comes to the future of creative in that company. There's a lot of uncertainty there. People don't like uncertainty. People want stability. And obviously there are some people who feel like they'll get that in AEW and not WWE. Love Lie with the $9.99. Do you ever read fantasy booking? I pitched an idea for the end of Damage Control in the comments of your most recent gamer video. If you ever have time, I would love it if you give me your thoughts. I see some of them. Some of them I don't, just because, I mean, there are people who write out these long things, and I might read it, but I just don't have time to respond to them all. But some of the, yeah, I do see some of them, so I will do my best. All right, so William in the chat says Wardlow's height is listed as 6'2". Hobbs is 6'1". McIntyre is listed at 6'5". Yeah, McIntyre's a big dude. McIntyre's a big guy. So again, I do feel like there are certain people who would come over and their size might be exposed because we're just not used to seeing them in the ring with other big guys. You have Big Bill and Keith Lee's obviously a big. He's not terribly tall, but he's just this massive, guy when you see him. But again, Wardlow I think would actually do very well in WWE. Thunderforce says if CM Punk comes back to AEW and gets booed, does that make the fans hypocrites considering they cheered for Jeff Hardy after what he did? Fans being hypocrites? No. The hell you say. Iconic, heard you say you no longer eat pizza. Why? I can't. It makes me sick. I used to love pizza. I had to stop. Simple as that. Juan Ocampo, thank you, and chat for listening. Much love. Well, Juan, thank you. Thank you for sharing. Sharing is caring. Does Satnam Singh wrestle? Not very often. And there's probably a good reason for that, because he's still very green. He's still learning. So they have him doing very limited stuff. He doesn't really take bumps. There's a reason why we don't see Satnam Singh in the ring. So the goal tonight for Be the Booker was 500 likes. And you guys have us on the precipice. I like that word, right? The precipice of 600 likes. So thank you very much for that. And with that being said, let us not waste any more time. Let us go ahead and be the Booker.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time to be the Booker.
It is time to be the Booker here on another Wednesday night for the Dynamite stream. And I will tell you, I just checked, we are actually 2 subscribers away from 73,000. So that is very cool. 73,000 is within reach. See if we can get there before the night is over. But let's kick things off here with the men's Be the Booker. As we usually do, we book a men's match. We fantasy book a women's match and a tag team match. Totally at random. Just for shits and giggles. Just to see what kind of card we can come up with. Let me see those Be the Booker emojis. So all of our channel members. We got those B2B emojis. I want to see them in the chat. We begin with Jake the Snake Roberts. I guess it could be either one of them. We got Jake and Macho Man here, but really this one is for Jake. This is one of my all-time favorite angles. This is one of those angles where you watch it as a young wrestling fan, and it just sticks with you. This is not something that you forget. To this very day, I remember watching this like it was yesterday. Jake the Snake, heel Jake the Snake in late 91, man. I mean, it is just, it doesn't get any better than that. It really does not get any better than that. Jake the Snake gonna go one-on-one with Samoa Joe. Oh, yeah. Jake the Snake and Samoa Joe. How about that match, huh? Both guys at their physical prime. Jake is a heel, and Joe, I mean, Joe's a fucking great heel, but let's say Joe is a badass babyface. How about that? Against heel Jake the Snake. I love that match. That's a great match. All right, let's try it on the women's side. We go from Jake and Samoa Joe. That would be a battle. That's right. Winston says that would be a battle. A promo battle. Of course. The promos alone would be fantastic. We begin with Saray. Oh, look at this. This is when they tried to turn Saray into, I don't know if she's supposed to be Sailor Moon or Punky Brewster. Saray. I can't imagine why this gimmick didn't work. Saray. One-on-one with Indy Hartwell. Indy Hartwell, the reigning NXT Women's Champion. Against Saray. Do I watch Bluey? No, I don't watch Bluey. I'm sure if I had a child, I'd be watching Bluey all day long. I do not watch Bluey. I do not watch Bluey. I do not watch Blue's Clues. I do not watch SpongeBob anymore. We begin with the Hart Foundation. Bret the Hitman Hart and Jim the Anvil Neidhart, former WWF Tag Team Champions. Demolition would be my favorite, but the Hart Foundation would be my second favorite tag team of all time. The Hart Foundation going to be taking on, who's it going to be? Who's it going to be? Who's it going to be? Let's get a drum roll. Let's get a drum roll. It's going to be the Hart Foundation against... Oh, these fucking guys. These guys again. I always forget their team name. What the hell were they called? D'Lo Brown and Chaz. I just don't remember their team name. I don't remember their run. The Hart Foundation, you know, it kills me to give a Hart Foundation match the buzzer, but I mean, I have no choice. Look at these fucking guys. Is that what their name was? Lowdown? Yeah. They were low down. They were pretty low down the card. That's actually a very appropriate name for them. They were all the way down. They were way down the card. Low down. Yeah, it would be a Hart Foundation squash match, but I'm not trying to book squash matches. I'm trying to book competitive matches. That's the problem. All right, we got a few more super chats here. Some questions from you guys. Let's see. We have got Arabian Night 2000. I hope WWE's next big signings are not anyone from AEW, and I hope it's Jacob Fatu or Moose. They're both the real deal and big men who can work. Do you agree? Absolutely, Jacob Fatu. I will be seeing him in action in the main event this Friday at House of Glory, defending the HOG World Heavyweight Championship against another big man who can go, Willie Mack. We got our main event on Friday, Jacob Fatu and Willie Mack. How about that? How about that? We got Charles Mason defending his Crown Jewel Championship against the bad son, Leo Rush. Delicious, naughty delicious, chicken with flavor. You're partying with the Street Profits, Braun Strowman, Ricochet, Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, and Damage Control. Who would be the designated driver? Probably Kevin Owens. I can't picture Kevin Owens being a big drinker. I'm guessing he doesn't drink at all. Probably him and Sammy. They probably don't drink. Sammy will just talk you to death all night, and Kevin Owens will probably just show you panda photos on his phone. So I would say KO will be the designated driver. Have I seen Tropic Thunder? Yes, I have. B-Money 04. Just left the AEW tapings. Started at 6 p.m. Central with Ring of Honor and then Dynamite, Rampage, and ended with more Ring of Honor. Did not expect to get 5.5 hours of wrestling on a Wednesday, but I enjoyed it overall. That is a lot of wrestling. That is a lot of wrestling. Uffman says, I bet Sammy has some great stories to tell. Probably. Well, I'll tell you what. We are currently at 72,999 subscribers here on this channel. We came close. But obviously we are going to hit that. If not tonight, then certainly by tomorrow. So I want to say thank you to everybody who has helped get us to just about damn near 73K. That's very cool. So now that we hit 73K, or are about to, obviously 74, and then 75 is the goal. And then hopefully above and beyond. So again, if you are not subscribed to the channel, please do so and make sure that you put the notification bell in the on position. That way when I go live, it will let you know. When I upload new content to the channel, it will let you know that as well. That is why you all should be subscribed. I am going to head on out of here. There will probably not be a live stream on Friday because of Hog. If that changes and I'll be here for some reason, or I think I can make the stream, I will keep you guys posted on Twitter, or I'll post something on YouTube under the community tab. I can put messages in there. But just assume there will be no stream on Friday night. Back to normal next Monday for the Monday Night Raw stream. And of course, this weekend we have episode 804 of the podcast coming up. If you did not see it, again, I want to just let you guys know that a brand new Sound Off Gamer is up. What happened to Solomonster's eye? That is the mystery of the episode. What happened to Solomonster's eye? If you're into the gamer stuff, I think you'll enjoy it. I think you will enjoy the episode, and I am very happy and very proud to announce that we have, in fact, hit and exceeded 73,000 subscribers here on the channel. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. We have hit 73K here on YouTube on a Wednesday night. Where's the confetti? There it is. There's the confetti. It is a confetti party here on the stream. Dr. Scorpio, thank you. Uffman Entertainment says you hit 73K. Yes, indeed. I just noticed it. And I thank you very, very much. That is very cool. Appreciate it, guys. Appreciate all the love. Onward now to 74. Right? That's the next goal. Naughty Delicious says, honey hot barbecue wings, good night. And now you have me very hungry. Perk Angle. Always good to see Perk Angle here on my screen. Time to cut a promo. Speech, says Alberto. I just did a speech. For 2 hours and 3 minutes, I've been giving you a speech. I just gave you a 2-hour speech. Now I got to get out of it. Well, you know, if and when the day comes, probably years from now, if we hit 100K, we get the silver play button, and then I'll be able to put it behind me, probably right on the wall behind me. But that, unfortunately, that's a little ways away. But if that day ever comes, again, we'll have that play button right behind me, probably over my shoulder somewhere. All right, I'm gonna get out of here. Be well, stay safe. Thank you for the 73K. And I will see you guys back here live very soon for more Sound Off on YouTube. Take care, guys. Thank you very much.